Well, our own Jonathan Karl, as you know, during the campaign season, went around and brought us back tales from out there. This time, this is a tale from the Capitol itself. He had some time to sit down with Senator-elect Mike Lee, Republican of Utah, set to take over a seat in a couple of months. Take a look at this interview.
So the subway is broken down. So I mean, we have the smaller subway, which we'll see go back and forth. But the subway we usually do the Subway Series interview is broken down. So so we'll take a walk along the subway path.
Works for me.
So you've said that you want to get the budget deficit situation under control and deal with our national debt. What are you going to do when the vote comes up sometime in the spring about raising the debt limit?
I'll vote against that.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, but if we don't raise the debt limit, don't we default on our obligations?
That presupposes that we continue spending at unsustainable rates, and I'm not going to vote to increase the debt ceiling.
But we have $1 trillion annual deficit now. So if you don't raise the debt limit, you've got to find a way to get $1 trillion out of the budget. How do you do that?
Well, that in turn will force the discussion on a balanced budget amendment and on a discussion about the need to balance the budget each and every year.
But I mean, let's start that discussion now. I mean, we're not talking about little things like cutting the National Endowment for the Arts. I mean, you're talking about big ticket items. I mean,
we're talking about big ticket items and little items. I mean, all of it has to be on the table. It's not all that extraordinary to say that we ought to return to a time when we could afford what we spend. If we went back to budget levels of, say, 2004, take a base budget from 2004 and started building from there, cut a few things, maybe add on a few things, take into account additional interest on national debt, we could afford it. We could balance our budget. And yet, you know, that's not all that extraordinary.
Okay, so how far are you willing to really go, though? I mean, if it comes down to it, are you willing to hold the line and say, look, fine, default, fine, shut the government down until we can come down here and balance the budget?
Well, you present a false choice. That presupposes that we have to default or that we have to shut the government down.
Well, if you don't vote to raise the debt limit, then you're left with a choice of default, aren't you?
Well, if those who so desperately want to continue mortgaging the future of their unborn grandchildren want to push that issue, that's unfortunate. Yeah. That's their choice. I'm not going to contribute to their decision to mortgage the future of our unborn grandchildren by making it comfortable for them to engage in that kind of behavior. It's intergenerational debt transfer, and I think that's wrong.
So I guess what I'm trying to get at is how serious you are about that.
I'm as serious as they come.
Okay, so
I could not be more serious when I say I'm not going to vote to increase the national debt limit.
And if it comes to government shutdown, so be it?
If it comes to a government shutdown, I don't want that. Nobody wants that. It's inconvenient. It's not an indication of good planning, certainly. I don't want that. Yeah. If there are those who push us into that, I think that will be most unfortunate. But I'm saying right now, I'm not voting to increase the national debt limit. So if they want my vote on anything, they're going to have to find another way of doing it.
You were a Senate page?
Yes, sir.
So what's it feel like coming back to this place as a senator? And did you ever think, I mean, when you were here as a teenager, did you think you would get to the point where you'd come back as a senator?
Well, I'll tell you, when we were on the floor doing some orientation in the Senate chamber the other day, they told us to sit down at one point. And I couldn't figure out why, but I felt uncomfortable sitting in the chair. And then I remembered they had drilled into us as Senate pages, never, ever, ever.
Don't sit in the chair.
You or anyone else sit in a senator's chair unless they're a senator. And that was still in the back of my head somewhere. So yeah, it's a little bit different coming back as a senator, senator-elect.
And you know, as a page, I mean, you really know how to get around this place. And it wasn't all that long ago. You're only 39 years old, but I mean, how do you? I mean, do you know this place in some ways better than any of your colleagues, even those that have been serving here for a long way?
Oh, no, I certainly wouldn't.
Come on, you know the secret passages here. These pages know everything.
I know where the Russell, Dirksen, and Hart buildings are in relation to the Capitol, and I know how to use the train system when it's working. But, that's about it.
All right, well, when we get the train working again, we'll have you back on the Subway Series for real after you get sworn in January. And Senator-elect Lee, we look forward to keeping in touch with you as it goes on.
Great, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for joining us.
And Senator-elect Lee won't be by himself in that vote against the debt limit.
It's going to be fascinating because you have Rand Paul also saying
Right.
similar things. You have House members saying similar things. And I think the leadership right now is trying to figure out, can they cobble the votes together and get them from Democrats in order to raise this debt?
That's right, and they're going to have to.
fascinating.
But these new folks who are coming, and this is
Right.
the part of the broader story. They are coming without owing anything to anybody. They won despite the establishment, not because of it in any
That's
way.
right. And so taking leadership, cues from leadership, although we'll see what works, maybe.
That's right. All right, that does it for this edition of Top Line. It's twitter.com/Rick Klein, twitter.com/Amy E. Walter. But she can't read it while she's out here because she doesn't have this snazzy new keypad to go with the nice
With the nice eye.